never to be seen again.
His colleagues go back to save him.
Getting shot at, shooting at somebody, 500-pounders danger close, friends getting shot, friends getting killed, getting shot yourself. If you sat down and wrote a list of experiences in combat, you could fit them all into that day.
This is the inside story of the US Army's single bloodiest firefight in the Afghan War. – 2002, Afghanistan, Shaikat Valley. 6 months after 9/11, the US military is looking for Osama bin Laden. He managed to escape 4 months ago, amid a battle between his jihadist fighters and Western forces, 110 kilometers away in Tora Bora. Al-Qaeda are still holding out in the mountains of southeast Afghanistan. Now, in a last push to crush the enemy, the US military at Bagram Air Base launches Operation Anaconda. The Americans plan to use precision airstrikes. This will allow ground troops to surge through the valley and wipe out the enemy. But in such vast hostile terrain, the Air Force needs accurate intelligence to pinpoint Al-Qaeda fighters. The task of supplying this intelligence falls to one elite team. 4th of March, 2002, 1:43 a.m. 7 Navy SEALs, America's elite sea, air and land special forces, are on a mission to establish an observation post on a 3,000-meter high ridge called Takagar. From here, the SEALs will be able to spot Al-Qaeda fighters on the move and provide exact coordinates for airstrikes. In the back of the Chinook helicopter, Petty Officer Neil Roberts readies himself. A 12-year SEAL veteran, Roberts is one of the most experienced and reliable members of the team. The plan is for the helicopter to land them at a safe distance from the peak of Takagar. In the snow, under cover of darkness, the SEALs will make a 4-hour hike up to the summit. But before the SEALs are dropped onto the slopes of Takagar, the area must be checked for signs of the enemy. An AC-130 gunship sweeps the mountain. Using infrared heat sensors, it can identify signs of life from an altitude of more than 7 kilometers. They believe there may be as many as 200 fighters in the region. The sensors show nothing. They report that Takagar is clear. The Americans don't know that their cutting-edge technology has been outfoxed by basic cunning. High on the ridge, the Al-Qaeda units are dug deep in snow-covered caves. The rock masks the heat from their bodies so that it cannot be detected by infrared. The overall force in the valley numbers around 400, far stronger than the Americans realize. They are sending a team of 7 Navy SEALs straight into the arms of the enemy. The SEALs finally get their clearance to land. At the last minute, the onboard squad leader changes the plan. Assured that the target is clear, he orders the chopper to land them directly onto the summit of Takagar. Al-Qaeda fighters hear the rotor blades of a large helicopter approaching. They are heavily armed with AK-47s and rocket-propelled grenade launchers. A single rocket can blast a chopper out of the sky from a range of 300 meters. The American chopper is already 200 meters away and closing. The pilots are convinced they have a clear run to the summit. The men prepare to leap from the open door of the craft once it lands. The pilots prepare to set down. Suddenly, they spot figures on the peak. The pilots attempt to abort the landing. But it's too late. A rocket-propelled grenade rips into the chopper's fuselage. They lose power. The guns are dead. The chopper is a sitting duck. Evasive action is their only option. The pilots bank. Roberts is knocked off his feet. A colleague grabs him. The Chinook tilts in the air. Roberts hits the ground. The pilots fight for control. They manage to steer the stricken chopper away from the enemy. It crash lands 7 kilometers away. Roberts is stranded on the mountain, alone and with just a light machine gun. Al-Qaeda are closing in for the kill. For an elite squad of US Navy SEALs, a nighttime mission in southeast Afghanistan is going disastrously wrong. 6 SEALs and their aircrew have crash-landed in a remote mountain valley. When they take a head count, their worst fears are confirmed.
What's up?
Petty Officer Neil Roberts is missing. They must rescue him. But the SEALs soon realize that they are 7 kilometers from their original target. In these conditions, it will take them hours to hike back up the mountain. Roberts is alone on the ridge. At 3,000 meters altitude, in ice cold and in the dark, he is surrounded by enemy fighters. He's out of radio range. But Roberts knows his comrades will come back for him. Until they do, he must find safe ground. Roberts' colleagues have been picked up by another Chinook and are on their way back to Qaeda. Their only mission now is to save their comrade.
Part of the warrior ethos is to never leave a fallen comrade. So there was never a question about us going back in to find him and to try to get him, alive or dead.
On Qaeda, Roberts has been pinned down by enemy fire for almost 2 hours. All he has to do is to hold out long enough for rescue. Then, his situation gets worse. He's shot in the right leg. 2 kilometers above Qaeda, an unmanned Predator surveillance drone comes into position. The Predator is controlled remotely via satellite by a US ground control station, 1,500 kilometers away in Oman, on the Arabian Peninsula. From there, live images from the Afghan mountaintop are relayed to military chiefs in America and to the Bagram Air Base, 180 kilometers north of Takagar. The SEALs are tense as they approach. They are here to save Roberts.
We knew quite clearly that we were not going to have operational surprise, and that means that we knew the bad guys were aware that we were going to come.
The pilot steers the Chinook onto the ridge. When it immediately comes under fire. Touchdown. 6 of Roberts' colleagues launch into battle. An intense firefight erupts. The SEALs are immediately pinned down by a barrage of machine gun fire. The battle rages on the ridge. Technical Sergeant John Chapman kills 2 Al-Qaeda fighters. Then, he's hit. He dies where he falls. Al-Qaeda hold the high ground, and their gun of choice. The Russian-made 50 caliber Dushka machine gun holds 12.7mm heavy rounds. The gun's power and range is devastating. Each round is capable of penetrating inch-thick armor plate at 500 meters. The SEALs are packing M4 light assault rifles. Against the destructive power of the Dushka, they are simply no match.
The odds were going to be a little bit different than we had initially planned for. You couldn't see the Al-Qaeda forces, you could just see the rounds, the flashes of the shooting that was going on, but you could see that it was a tough fight.
2 more Americans are hit. Outgunned and severely outnumbered, the SEALs are in deep trouble. They retreat. There's no sign of their fallen colleague, Roberts. Roberts has been killed. General Hagenbeck witnessed his execution via the satellite surveillance images.
It was gut-wrenching to see Al-Qaeda had grabbed him. We saw them move into a shadowy area, never to be seen again.
The SEALs don't know that Roberts is already dead. They are out of radio contact with their US base. Their helicopter has been damaged and returned to base. The SEALs are now fighting for their own survival. The rescuers need to be rescued. A US AC-130 gunship strafes the mountain ridge. The gunship halts the enemy gunfire. But the AC-130s are large and slow-moving. They rarely fly in daylight because they are vulnerable to enemy fire. This is not a rescue. The gunship is ordered back to base. The 5 remaining SEALs immediately come under fire again. The ridge is being held by Al-Qaeda. The SEALs team is forced to retreat. Their helicopter has returned to base. Their crashed Chinook is 7 kilometers away. And Bagram Air Base is 180 kilometers north. There is only one unit who can save them now: the Army Rangers. A quick reaction force are on 24-hour standby. They specialize in behind-the-lines evacuation and reinforcement missions. Ranger Oscar Escano is on constant battle readiness.
It's very much like the 911 system. As a quick reaction force, you don't have the benefit of being able to plan things out. Pretty much just get called, and you get told that something has gone horribly wrong.
Captain Nate Self commands the platoon of Rangers.
I was in the Joint Operations Center, just listening to the radios, and I was finishing up a mission plan. I recognized the call sign as being one of our aircraft that was down.
Within 15 minutes, 2 Chinook helicopters are spinning up.
We were scrambling as fast as we could to get a rescue operation underway.
Captain Self leads 10 Rangers in the first helicopter, Razor 1. They are mobilizing so quickly, they will receive their orders on the way. Oscar Escano is on the second Chinook, Razor 2. The Rangers are now a 20-strong force, heading to Takagar.
There was definitely a buzz in the air. You could feel it, you could see it on everybody's face.
During the flight, Captain Self gets reports of a crashed helicopter, a man down, and an ambushed SEAL team. It's all they have to go on.
As we approached the mountain, I could see out the back of the helicopter the valley and the mountains around. And I was really humbled knowing that people had been fighting there.
Captain Self starts looking for the SEALs team on the ground.
As we neared the mountain, I expected a location that was really hostile. I didn't know if we were going to be shot at or not, but I told the guys to be prepared.
Self knows their Chinook presents an easy target in daylight. What he doesn't know is they are heading for exactly the same ridge where 2 Chinooks have already been ambushed. For the 3rd time in 3 hours, Al-Qaeda fighters on Takagar prepare for battle. Ranger Oscar Escano is on the second Quick Reaction Force Chinook, Razor 2. They are still awaiting orders.
We didn't know what was going on. We just kind of sat there for, I don't really know how long. It felt like forever.
HQ orders them to fly to a safe area, away from Takagar, and to await orders. The other men on the first Quick Reaction Force Razor 1 are ordered to continue on their own. They've got their medic, Corey Lamoureux, on board. He was due to return home, but volunteered to stay on for this one operation. Next to him is right minigunner Phil Svitak.
It was electric, for sure. We knew we were going, we just didn't really know what we were going to do.
The cover of darkness is gone.
As we come around to land, basically just got our ass handed to us.
A burst of machine gun fire rips through the chopper. Svitak, the gunner next to Corey, is shot. Both pilots are wounded.
They just fired us up. I mean, there was just gunfire everywhere. You see the effects of it, but you can't hear it.
Every bullet that came through the aircraft just ripped through. The aircraft just started getting hammered.
I received 3 bullets into my helmet that didn't actually penetrate.
The guns shred the right engine's turbine blades. The 27-ton Chinook falters.
I heard that engine whine, and I just broke into a cold sweat.
Then, an RPG hits the Rangers' aircraft.
The aircraft was just shoved in the air to the side and then just fell out from under us.
The Chinook crashes into the snow just 73 meters from the Al-Qaeda camp. Lamoureux turns to his fallen colleague.
I heard, people yelling and screaming that were hurt.
Hang in there, buddy.
But Spytak is already dead.
He didn't have a carotid pulse when I went back, and so I had, went on to the next guy.
Like the SEALs before them, the Rangers' rescue mission is turning into a fight for survival. Al-Qaeda continue to unload a barrage of fire. The Rangers are sitting ducks. Nate Self falls as he runs out of the helicopter. 2 Rangers are shot, exiting the chopper.
I knew that they were dead, and it registered with me for a second. The enemy's gunfire really brought me back to the here and now.
Self attempts to return fire, but his gun jams, and he is forced to take one from a dead comrade.
We were in such a bad place. There was no cover. The only cover was provided by our own gunfire.
As the battle rages, Al-Qaeda fighters shoot 3 more Americans. More than 45 meters down the mountain, a separate battle is taking place. The Navy SEALs who came back for Neil Roberts are under enemy fire and in need of rescue. 2 of the men are badly wounded. At Bagram Air Base, General Hagenbeck watches live pictures from the battlefield.
About everything that could go haywire occurred. And they were literally in the fight for their life from the moment the wheels touched down.
On Takagar, medic Corey Lamoureux and his patients take cover in the downed Chinook. 4 men are dead, 3 are wounded. One of the pilot's hands has been almost severed.
He was pumping blood probably 6 feet in the air, just like the movies. And he was holding his wrist and screaming. I go to turn on the vital signs monitor, and the screen had 3 bullet holes in it.
Ranger Captain Nate Self must take his men out of the open ground. An Al-Qaeda fighter fires another RPG at the men.
When I saw the RPG coming at me, for a split second I was just waiting for the pain to set in.
Self is hit, but the snow diminishes the shrapnel damage.
That hurts, but I can deal with it.
Captain Self makes it to the shelter of rock outcrops. The enemy are in fortified bunkers higher up the ridge.